Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming up today. My old subscribers, thank you. And to those that are viewing for the first time or that have not subscribed, please click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified each time we upload a new video. And to my new subscribers, thank you for subscribing. This is a shocking news for a judge. A Delta High Court judge weeps after DNA tests reveal that he is not the father of three of his adult children. Anthony Okorades, who was sworn in as a judge of Delta State High Court by Governor Ifeanyi Okowa in 2018, has now expressed how devastated he was after a DNA test conducted on his three adult children reveal they are not his. How sad is this kind of a news? I am sure that he is extremely heartbroken at the moment. You can imagine three adult children, and in a statement that was released by the High Court judge, he accused his former wife, that's Celia Juliet, of cheating during their marriage that has even ended 11 years ago. And the judge said that he was first notified of paternity fraud by an anonymous source, said the repulsive acts of his ex-wife prompted him to conduct DNA tests on all his children. And he was also recounting how his wife walked away from their marriage when her youngest child, who is now 17 years old, then he was 6 years old when she left the marriage. And the judge said that the DNA test uncovered that his wife cheated while still married to him. This is really, really sad, and it's even heartbreaking to hear a news like this. Okay, there was something that the judge had said, a press statement that the judge had actually read out, and he penned this out, which I'm going to read briefly for us to get to hear what he has to say. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I thank you for attending this press conference. I have taken the decision to address the press in respect of certain traumatic developments that have arisen between me and my ex-wife, Barrister Celia Juliet of the Ototo family of the Yenegua local government area of Bayelsa State. It is now 11 years since our separation and divorce. The press statement is important in order to prevent damaging speculations, half-truths, and outright lies from persons who may want to cash in on the tragedy that has befallen my home. Sometime during the coronavirus lockdown early last year, I received information from an anonymous source that indicated that the last of the three children from my previous marriage was in fact not my biological child. Due to the coronavirus restriction at that time, I had to wait until August 2020 to carry out a DNA test. The DNA test result, which came out in September 2020, confirmed that I was not the biological father of the child. Consequently, I convened a joint meeting between my extended family on one side and Celia's paternal and maternal families on the other side, where I confronted her with the paternity fraud allegation. Although she initially strongly insisted that I was the biological father, she has since confessed to having the child with another man during the course of our marriage. This repulsive act of my ex-wife prompted me to conduct DNA tests in respect of the two other children a few days ago. The results came out. Sadly, none of them is my biological child. This abomination has caused excruciating mental trauma to me. my present wife, Barrister Ebi Okoradas, and all of the innocent children involved. This is particularly so for Ebi, who has had to agree to have DNA tests on the four children of our own marriage. Thankfully, the test results confirm each of them to be my biological child. It is important to state that Celia walked away from the marriage when her youngest child was 6 years old, who is now 17 years old. Since then, all of her children have lived with my wife, Ibi, and I, and we have been wholly responsible for their well being and education. Friends who are close to my family would readily attest to the fact that, unless specifically informed, no one could tell that the children were not the biological children of my present wife. Ibi and I would continue to support the children in any way that we can. Indeed, even after the release of the first DNA test results, which proved that I was not the biological father of the last child, we have continued to pay for his education in a private boarding school. The two other children are university graduates. The first, a female, will be a graduate later this year, and the second will soon enter his fourth year of study. We pray for them to overcome the trauma and become responsible citizens of our country. For Celia and her boyfriend or boyfriends, we leave them to their conscience. Thank you very much. This is the press statement by the justice himself. That's the Honorable Justice Anthony Ezonfodi Okoradas, PhD Judge of Delta State High Court. Friends, what do you all think about an incident like this? You can imagine that you've been fathering kids that don't even belong to you or known to you. And to make matters worse, this happened while they were still married. It's to say that it's really a very sad event that has happened. And you can imagine that the kid, the youngest, is even 17 years old. He fathered three children. They were married. So while they were still married, the wife was having an affair outside the home and then bringing in pregnancy unknown to the man, thinking that that's his own child. But how will some people go to this extent? How will your infidelity be so high to the point that all the kids, not even one of the kids they had together, the three of them, none of them belonged to him? You can imagine how devastating this can also be. And he said it in a statement. It has caused him some mental trauma. Yes, of course, it will. Training a kid from grade school up to the university level, it's not easy, because I know how expensive this can be on parents. A lot of parents that have put kids through school know what it has cost them, but then they do it because it's their kids and they want the best for them. So imagine this, that you've trained a child up to the university level, the highest point of education, and all for you to come and hear that this child is not your own. You've taken care of this child, treated this child like your own, and then after so many years, then they are coming out to say it's not your own child. And he had to bring out proof with the DNA, because DNA, once there's a proof of DNA, there's nothing the other person can say. And see how the wife, the ex-wife, can be still denying that those kids were his, not until later she confessed to having an affair outside the home. Please, it's even better you don't continue in the marriage than being in the marriage one leg in and one leg out. That's exactly what Celia, his ex-wife, was actually doing, which is not fair to the man. It can be really, really traumatizing. Okay, what about for these kids too? Okay, these kids coming to know that the man whom they've lived with all their lives, all of a sudden is not their dad. Do you think it would be easy for them? Even while they're in school, it will affect their concentration. And I'm sure, who knows, it may be difficult for them to even leave that man, because they may still prefer to be with him. He has stayed with them all their lives. They are used to him. Imagine being used to a particular person. You call the person dad, dad all the time. He's taking good care of you, treating you right. And then suddenly from nowhere, he's not your dad. Just see how heartbroken these kids are right now. I think when parents do certain things, please always put kids into consideration too. It's really going to affect the kids. For them to now turn their back on a man who has stayed with them for years and they've called him their dad, now is it to turn back to go and look for a man whom they don't even know, whom they've never met, or probably they've seen him and they didn't know he's their dad. So right now, is it to start life afresh with another man calling him dad who was never there for them? So right now, it's even a two-way trauma thing that will be happening for both the father, that is the man who just observed or noticed he's not their father, and these kids. How are they all going to keep on living freely and then acting like nothing happened? It's not possible. So does it mean now that they are going to leave the him and then go to meet this other man or go in search for their real dad? Who knows if it's just one man? They didn't say if it's just one man that is the father of three of the kids or different men. They never specified there, but you could hear the husband saying, that's the judge, saying that his wife with her boyfriend or boyfriends. So there could be another possibility that these kids may not even be born by or fathered by just one father alone, since the woman was actually cheating. She later confessed to cheating on the husband. It's really bad. If you're separated, it's a different thing, but not while you're still married together, living together as a couple, no problem, and suddenly you now decided to start sleeping out of your marital home, bringing in babies into the home, and then lying to your husband that the babies belong to him. It's really heartbreaking. This is what makes some people, they go into terrible things, terrible acts, because they are going through a very serious mental trauma. It's really devastating and heartbreaking at the same time. I hope and I pray that they're able to put things together, that the Honorable and his kids, or the kids that he just realized they are not his, because this can really affect them seriously, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and physically too. It's really, really going to affect them. Please, this goes to everybody out there. The worst thing to do is to cheat on your spouse. That's betrayal. And that's one of the worst things you can do to a loved one, betrayal. You can imagine that they were married, they were not separated, they were still living together as a couple. And then you now going out there to meet with other men while still married, and it didn't end there, but you came in with pregnancy into the house. That is really, really not nice at all. It should go to everybody. This has to do with both the men and the women. Some men will now father some kids outside their home. Some may not even know that the women they've been hanging out with outside their marital home is even pregnant for them, and all of a sudden a woman will just appear with kids and say these kids belong to you. Then how will your current wife feel? Don't cheat on your spouse. It's better you sit down and talk things over. That is the best. Open up to your spouse. Let your spouse know how you are feeling or what you're going through. It's better you share those emotional pains with your spouse than going to seek for peace or help elsewhere. It doesn't help, rather it destroys the home more. So to avoid all of these things happening, learn to settle scores amicably. Learn to sit down with your spouse and then resolve issues. It will go a long way. Better than going out there and cheating on your spouse. And for some women who are into this kind of an act, you would now sleep here, sleep there, and go there, go there. No, all in the name that even if you come back with the pregnancy, your husband wouldn't even know because you guys are still together. But does it really make sense? Why hurt someone who has done no wrong to you? You can imagine that the husband who was faithful to her, and all she could do was to turn her back and carry out this horrible act on him. And this is not a good way to start a home or to build a home. How will the kids now look at their mother? She has even created another pain in between her and the kids. It is so bad. It doesn't tell well. What are you training the kids, or what example are you leaving for your kids? You know, in everything you do, just always think, what legacy are you going to leave behind for your children? If your daughter start behaving the way you did, how are you also going to feel? Please don't cheat on your spouse, both the men and the women. Everybody in the relationship, in the marriage, is important to understand how each and every one of you feel. Please seek for help when things are going wrong. Go to a therapist, go to your religious leaders, go to your church leaders, go for counseling. It will definitely help one way or the other. It's except you guys have made up your mind conclusively that you don't want the marriage anymore, you've dissolved the marriage, then everybody can go ahead and do what he or she wants to do, because at that point you're free. But once you're married, you're still living together as a couple, you are not free. No party is free. Neither is the man free or the woman free. Please, it should serve as a lesson. Don't cheat on your spouse. And at the point when you know that you've made that mistake, open up to your spouse. Let them not even find out outside. Open up to your spouse once you have made the mistake, and then ask for forgiveness and turn your ways around. But don't even think of cheating on your spouse at all. It's not good. Friends, what do you think about this? Please, whatever you have to say, you can put that down at the comment section below. Thank you for coming out today. Please, for those that have not subscribed, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified each time we upload a new video. Thank you for coming up. God bless you all.